over 14 to get your own account. But basically, if you're 15 and under, you need parent permission to get it if you're 14 and 15, and then under 14, you can't get your own account. Now, parents can let their kids use their accounts, whatever. We're not going to police that, but what we're doing is we're telling the social media companies, don't issue an account unless they're a certain age with parent permission or above that age, and if not, you'll face consequences. And I think the reason why we've had to do that is because it used to be growing up, there would be different types of threats to the innocence of youth. You'd be out playing, some predator comes up in a van, tries to entice kids in. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, it still does, but now with these devices, these predators can get into your home. Kids play video games, these guys can go in and entice them. So the risks are so much more than they were, say, when I was growing up as a kid. And parents want to be able to protect their kids, and there are things that we've been able to do to be able to help that. But make no mistake, these sexual predators will stop at nothing to be able to harm kids. And when you have a kid that is abused by these sexual predators, the abuse doesn't stop at that minute, the minute it ends. It's a lifelong scar. It's something that they have to cope with for the rest of their lives, and it really robs our kids of their innocence. And so we are very much strong and holding the line on that. I signed legislation last year to protect children from adult groomers attempting to prey on their innocence. This prohibited an adult from engaging in a pattern of communication to a minor that includes explicit and detailed verbal descriptions of sexual activity, because that's a lot of how these guys operate. They try to earn trust, and then they go into these areas, these forbidden areas. We've also increased penalties for child exploitation crimes, such as promoting sexual performances or possessing child pornography. We've also established a grant program within FDLE to create online sting operations to target sexual predators, and we created stricter guidelines for sexual offender registration. So we've done a lot, but today we're going to do more. So I'm going to sign a series of bills that are going to make Florida remain as the #1 state in the country for the protection of our kids. First, HB 777 strengthens Florida's laws against luring or enticing children by expanding the definition of the crime, increasing penalties, and eliminating certain defenses based on a child's misrepresented or mistaken age. I'm also signing HB 1351, which strengthens registration, reporting, and verification requirements for sexual predators and offenders in Florida. The bill also enhances accountability and improves law enforcement monitoring of offenders' location and employment activities. You know, some of these offenders, they exploit loopholes in the system to be able to set up shop in certain communities, acting like they're just visiting or going back. And so this plugs that loophole so that if they're going to spend time here in Jacksonville, you're going to know that they're spending time here, and they're going to have to report that so that you can protect your kids. Third, I'm signing Florida House Bill 1455, which provides mandatory minimum terms of imprisonment for specified sexual offenses when committed by registered sexual offenders or sexual predators. Let me tell you, just as somebody who has been involved in law enforcement as a prosecutor and, of course, is now the head of the executive branch in Florida, these offenders, sexual offenders, they are going to reoffend, right? So you can put them away for the maximum and say someone gets a 15-year sentence and they serve it and they come out. The chance of them reoffending is very, very high when you start talking about these sexual predators. And so you got to have a minimum amount of time that they're just taken off the streets. Ultimately, the registry, all these things, they're tools, but the only thing that really, really guarantees the safety of the children is to find every last daggum predator and put them in jail and get them off the street. That's what you need to do. Now, mandatory minimums, some people criticize because they say, well, you know, you could have too much for this. And, you know, the justice system is imperfect. I acknowledge that. But the reality is we have, unfortunately, some judges that just do not give the gravity of a sentence that warrants it when you're talking about abuse of minors. I mean, you will have some that will throw the book at them, then you'll have others where it's like a little bit more wishy-washy. So this ensures that there's a baseline level of accountability where you're holding these sexual predators accountable. And again, these are people that are already registered offenders, and then they're reoffending in the community. I think these sexual predators, I mean, remember, I signed the legislation to reinstitute the death penalty for pedophiles. I think that that's appropriate when you're doing some of this stuff. But at a minimum, they need to be taken off the street. You shouldn't even be in a position where you're having to monitor their every move and just hoping that somehow they're going to reform themselves, because we know that the chance of that happening is not very good. We also have on the docket SB 1804, which establishes capital human trafficking of vulnerable persons for sexual exploitation as a new capital felony offense. And so it's kind of piggybacks on what we did on the child sex abuse, but brings that into the human trafficking realm, which is a huge, huge problem in the world, and certainly in the United States of America. So I'm glad that we are doing really significant efforts to continue to fight human trafficking. Now, we also have with us today, as I mentioned, Brooke Curry, a Jacksonville teenager whose personal experience with AI-generated explicit imagery catalyzed legislative action in Florida this session. And accordingly, I'm going to be signing HB 1161, Brooke's Law, to strengthen protections for individuals whose images are used in non-consensual, sexually explicit, deep fake content by requiring covered online platforms to implement a notice and removal system. So these are people that are manipulating this stuff, but they can do it so well that a lot of people think that this is authentic, and just think of what that does as somebody who gets victimized by this. And so Florida law does not currently provide a mechanism by which victims can request the removal of these altered depictions without consent. So Brooke's Law will protect victims of digital sexual abuse by ensuring victims of deep fake exploitation have a clear, enforceable process to remove damaging material. Also requires covered platforms such as websites and online services to remove altered sexual depictions and copies of such depictions from their platform upon request of the victim within 48 hours. It also prevents legal overreach by maintaining platform immunity for good faith compliance, avoiding the chilling effects on speech or over moderation. And then finally, the bill gives platforms room to design their own processes while enforcing a baseline level of accountability. I want to thank Brooke for her courage to come forward and to lead this effort. I think it's really important, and it also raises the issue of this whole artificial intelligence. They're talking about in Washington banning states from being able to regulate it at all for the next 10 years. And as governor, I want to be able to provide protections for you working with the legislature if that's warranted. This stuff is progressing so quickly, but you will absolutely get to a point where they can just take you, they can put words in your mouth and do a video, and you're basically saying something that's the opposite of what you actually believe, and they can have you depict you doing awful things. That's not the world that we want to live in, and so I think that the states need to be able to retain their ability to handle the emerging AI issues. We're not going to run away from it. We know it's going to be a part of military operations. It's going to be a part of a lot of things. Although I will say this, they talk about the power of it, and there's a lot of things that are powerful about it, but there's also a lack of common sense in some of these AI things. I mean, like, sometimes they just they can't reason like a human being does, and so there's not only dangers with how good it can be, but there's also dangers by employing it without recognizing some of the limitations and the flaws that it has, because I've seen that firsthand, and I've had to go in and fight with like Grok or some of these and say, wait a minute, that's wrong. Oh yeah, you're right, I saw that. And then like they admit they were wrong, but I'm like, why were you wrong the first time? So this is a really significant issue of all the different things. I mean, how people's privacy is going to be respected or not, how it's going to affect the economy. and what types of jobs are going to be available to people. These are really, it's maybe the most fundamental issue that we're going to confront over the next many, many years. And I just think you as Floridians should have the right to be able to petition your policymakers to provide protections for you if that's something that you think is right. They're trying to kneecap the states from being able to do that, and I do think that that's a mistake. Well, listen, we're going to sign all this stuff in a second, but before we do that, we're going to hear from Mark Glass, TK, we're going to hear from Brooke, and then we're going to hear from Rachel Plakin from the Florida House. So, Mark Glass.
And good morning, and thank you for coming to JROC, the Jacksonville Regional Operational Center for FDLE. And this is your FDLE, and you got to hear our great governor talk about the things the state of Florida is not going to put up with. And I'm going to tell you, it is great to work in my position and to let you know that FDLE has the ball. One thing we do is look out over the horizon, see what's coming at us, the changes in techniques, tactics, and procedures. And what we do, cyber is that battleground, that new battle space we all have to deal with. And I'm proud to be here, be with you, Governor, protecting our children, supporting our victims, and holding our predators accountable. And to be able to stand over here and watch him sign 4 of these bills is amazing. And I'm so thankful for that. And I want to thank our legislators for also championing this. I know we talked in your offices, and I want to say thank you so much for doing this and the great work you guys have been doing and trying to get these bills across the line for us to sign this. Deep fakes. Let's talk about 1161. You heard the governor talk about AI. AI is getting more dangerous. We do not have time, like he said, to wait on the federal government to do 10 years worth of you stand by while we figure it out. We can start figuring it out now. I have some of the best cyber experts working for FDLE. You have the best cyber experts working for FDLE, and we're working with our sheriffs, local chiefs. We're working with all our other state organizations and also our victim services. So what we're trying to do is get ahead of the game. Let's look at AI forensics, cyber forensics, and make sure that we're able to put stuff to bed early and try to say that it's a fake, so that way we can get it out there. But with 1161 allowing us to go after these different platforms to say that you take that off now and take it from your systems and scrub it. The more you scrub it from your systems, the better. Also, too, just to Brooke and every victim who's out there and had to fight and to be believed, your courage is making Florida safer. And I want to tell you, from my analysts and my agents that are out there, they are looking and watching how you did your business, and they're saying thank you because you're giving them the tools they need, and you're giving them the fight, and they know why they're there. So I just want to say thank you for that. House Bill 777, offenses involving children, it makes it crystal clear. If you target a child, there's no excuse, not ignorance, not deception, not denial. There's no excuse. And at FDLE, we have a zero tolerance. When the governor put me in here 3 years ago, that was one of the biggest things I went after, is all the sex offender and sex predators that are out there making our people in our state victims. And if you steal a child's innocence, that is the worst of evil to me. So we're going to come after you, and we're going to come after you hard with everything we have. So House Bill 1455, for the sexual offenses by repeat offenders, if you're hard-headed, we have a fix for that, and that's it. And we really appreciate y'all getting that across the line on 1455. Making that mandatory prison time, you heard the governor talk about, that's the only way you stop a lot of this, is you just don't have them out there in the middle with the rest of society. No more second chances. We give you one chance, you don't get corrected in the Department of Corrections, then you go out and do it again. Well, we're going to put you there for a little bit longer. Hopefully your hard head will get better out of that. Senate Bill 1804, capital human trafficking, the death penalty. I mean, I'm with him on that one. You, like I said, you're stealing the child's innocent, you're in human trafficking. It's just the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst. And what we ended up, it's just a despicable crime. And so, and thanks to Governor DeSantis for leading that charge for Floridians. Now, on human trafficking, I do want to say something there. If you see something, say something. You've heard that campaign. If you see something suspicious, report it. Knowing the signs of human trafficking can save lives. If you go to FDLE's website, if you go to JSO's website, they will help you, guide you through to look at the signs. Do not be afraid to report something if it seems out of the ordinary. Please say it, because there are people getting victimized and trafficked right in front of our faces, even whether it's the grocery store or just at a sports venue. Just pay attention to the signs and really do that. Call 911. Don't feel like you're bothering them, call them, or you can reach out to the Florida Human Trafficking Hotline, which is 1-855-FLA-SAFE. That is 1-855-FLA-SAFE. And 1351, sir, I want to tell you thank you on this one, and representatives of the registration of sexual offenders and sexual predators. So the loopholes he was talking about, so there, you have to report even if you're self-employed. So you do not want somebody who's self-employed coming to your house to do a handyman special and everything. You don't know who they are because they didn't report their business online. So that's going to make it mandatory reporting, so that way you can screen who's coming to your house to actually work on your house, whether it be plumbing, whether it be roofing, or whatever you need to do there. So with all that, just in conclusion, Governor, thank you for your commitment to protecting Floridians. And at FDLE, we're protecting you, supporting, and delivering justice to these folks. And we cannot do it without our representatives and senators that are here sitting here with us today. And also we can't do it without our victims standing up and actually getting out there and having the great fight for us. And we do appreciate it. You don't know how much that strengthens me. I'm just telling you, that just strengthens us. And Governor, thank you for your leadership and your tough on crime. Thank you.
So, Governor, thanks for having me here today. Thank you all for having me. It's an honor to be here today and with our governor, our local and state leaders for this important occasion in Florida, which gains several new means to combat exploitation of our children and other vulnerable citizens. As a father, grandfather, and a career police officer, I know that there is no more vital role for law enforcement than the protection of our kids. By their age and inherent dependency, children are vulnerable. Now more than ever, our children face dangers. They need and deserve the vigilance of the adults around them and the civil society. Here in Duval County, we believe in law and order, big time. Evidenced by our recent operation where we arrested 24 predators for trying to hook up with 13-year-old kids. And as the head of this agency at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, I can promise you that this agency will always enforce the law and aggressively pursue those whose criminal actions harm our children and other vulnerable citizens. I'd like to publicly recognize Brooke Curry, for whom Brooks Law is named. Brooke is a resident of our county in my city. And her courage, strength of spirit, and the content of her character culminated in the passing of an important piece of legislation that bears her name. Brooke, our city is proud of you for transforming a painful life experience into the means to garner needed change. There are so many people in our future who will benefit from your vision and resolve. You are an inspiration to us all, and all of Jacksonville stands with you. And I'm sure everyone in the state, the great state of Florida, stands with you also. Today we have new proactive tools in our tool belt to combat sexual predators and offenders and protect at-risk members of our community. I want to thank Florida's legislators and our great governor, once again, for creating and enacting these new pieces of legislation so that we in law enforcement have additional avenues by which to take predatory criminals off of our streets. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Standing before you today, I'm filled with deep gratitude, emotion, and purpose. First and foremost, I want to thank Governor Ron DeSantis and our Florida elected officials, specifically Mr. Weinman and Ms. Calatayud, for their leadership and commitment to protecting the rights of victims across our state. Your willingness to listen and act has meant the world to me and to so many others who now feel seen and heard. To the brave and tireless members of law enforcement, thank you. You are often the first call, the first face, and the first hope for victims who feel their world has been shattered. Your service and protection has laid the foundation for this law and justice it aims to deliver. To my family and friends, you've stood by me through pain, uncertainty, and the long road to healing. Your unwavering love gave me strength when I didn't think I had any left. And to the strangers who became supporters, your belief in this cause reminded me that there is far more good in this world than we sometimes realize. We are here today because we chose not to look away, because we decided silence was not an option, because we knew that victims of this crime, many of them young, vulnerable, and silenced, deserve a voice, justice, and a path forward. Brooks Law is not just about me. It's about all of us. It's about accountability, dignity, and hope. For every person who has been exploited or violated, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You have a voice. And now, thanks to this law, you have a path forward. To the young people watching or listening, never let anyone make you believe that your voice doesn't matter. It does. I'm proof of that. If you feel scared, hurt, or powerless, know this. You are not alone. You are never without options. There are people who will stand with you, fight for you, and believe in you. I also want to recognize and thank First Lady Melania Trump for her leadership on this issue through the Take It Down Act. Her advocacy has helped shine a national spotlight on the importance of protecting victims of online exploitation. Her efforts have brought this conversation to dining tables, legislative chambers, and communities that need to hear it most. The journey to passing Brooks Law has not been easy. It's been painful. It's been personal, but it's also been powerful because together we've turned tragedy into a purpose, and together we've lit a path for others to walk, bravely and without shame. This is just the beginning. Our work continues. Awareness must grow. Protection must expand, and healing must remain at the center of everything we do. Thank you for all standing with me and with every survivor today and always. Thank you.
Good job.
Hello, I'm Representative Rachel Plakin. I want to thank Brooke for sharing her story. It took a lot of courage to come here and speak before these folks, and we just really appreciate you so much. I'm the House sponsor of HB 777, and the Orange County Sheriff's Office came to me, and they told me that current law said that if a predator lures a child or tries to entice a child into a structure or a vehicle, it's a misdemeanor right now. If they try to lure them out, it's not even a crime. And as a mother, a mama bear, I was livid to hear that. And I said, I must run this bill. And so today, we are changing that. We're making it a felony. And I want to thank Governor DeSantis for taking a stand for Florida's children. And also, I would like to thank Senator Collins for being an extraordinary partner. God bless.
Okay. All right, what I'm gonna do is you guys wanna come up? Good job. That's awesome. All right, so we got a number of them to do. Do we have any kids in the audience? Would you like, this is not permanent marker, would you like one? There you go. I got another one if we've got any others. You know, when the kids got the permanent markers over the years, I mean, I get the complaints about them, you know, marking up everything, so we try to help out and do what we can here. Okay, so, today is the 10th of June, am I right? Yep. All right, so this is the registration of sexual predators and offenders. Who would like one from this? Anybody? Whose bill was this?
This one I'm good, but I'll take one.
Okay.
For the
Anyone else? Okay. Peanut gallery? All right, so we've got that one. This is the previous sex offenders. Whose bill is this? Who did 1455? Any of you guys here or no? Okay. Over there? All right. So we got that one. Okay. Here we go. All right, there you go. Yep. Anyone else? Lenny? Navy man? All right.
He's a wide receiver.
All right, HB 777. You want that? Anybody else want one on this one? Anyone back here? Okay.
Baseball throw,
How
Governor.
many of you have already gotten one? All right, so we got that, and then this is the capital offense. I have one more non-permanent marker. You sure you don't have any other?
Over
Any
here,
other kids?
back here.
Okay.
I'll take it with Gracie.
Sure. Take it. All right, I got two more. Anyone up
Yeah,
here?
back here.
Okay. All right, now what we're gonna do is, you hold that one. I will hold these two, and then maybe Rachel hold that one up. Okay, here we go. Good job, guys. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for their hard work on this. I'm good, yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you for that. I think these are going to be meaningful. We continues our trend of standing up for children, throwing the book at sexual predators and offenders, and keeping our community safe. Okay, do we have any questions?
I'm John from Jackson. Do you think it's possible to get completely ahead of AI with something that's expanding the way that it is?
So I think the issue with AI is implicit in your question. We could have the perfect answer for AI right now. By the time a legislature does things, even if it takes like a month, there's already things. And so the rapid change that we do, it does make it more difficult. In terms of getting ahead, look, I think that what I would do, assuming we retain authority, is we're not going to be able to police every aspect of it, right? But there are going to be certain things where we're going to need to provide protections for people so that their lives aren't negatively impacted by the rise of AI. And I don't know that we're going to know every permutation of that because there's new things that get developed all the time. But as a kind of a national matter, it's a matter for the state, but it's really a national and even international issue is what role is AI going to play in terms of employment in the future? Now, when you have technologies that can displace jobs, but can also create jobs in other areas, AI, we'll see, right? But I do think it's a possibility that, we're looking at companies going so much in the direction of AI that they're not hiring as many people as they've needed to traditionally. So how do we prepare folks for that? So these are all things that are really fundamental questions. We should be able to, as states, retain our authority. And I know why some people want to do this and say 10 years you're not allowed to do anything is because they're worried about California and New York screwing it up, right? I mean, they're worried about them doing dumb things. I get that, but I can tell you what, one of the reasons Florida's been successful is because they've done a lot of dumb things and people have recognized Florida and people have moved businesses. They've invested in Florida as a result of that. So we've always had a healthy competition amongst the states. We're supposed to be laboratories of democracies. You can see who does it well, who doesn't. For example, on budget, these guys, we're June 10th. They don't have a budget. Our fiscal year ends at the end of the year. And hopefully that gets resolved this week. But if you look at Florida, we have millions of more residents in Florida than New York does, New York residents, and yet their budget is over twice the size of our state budget. Yet we have better services, better roads, higher performing education. And so where is this money going to? So people can see, hey, you can go to Florida with no income tax. You can go there with the #1 ranked public university system. In-state tuition is like $6,300. It hasn't budged 1 cent since I've been governor, and we're going to keep it that way. You can have a state dedicated to law and order, #1 in new business formations, all these things. Or you can pay hefty taxes. You can have weak on crime policies. You can have all those. And people make those judgments. And that's really been, I think, central to the federalism that we have in the United States of America. So to take that away from states is not something that I think is good policy. And they're also trying in Washington do other things. And this isn't as big of a deal in Florida, but in other parts of the country, Biden did this Green New Deal. So it's like trillions of dollars in subsidies that we shouldn't be spending at all. Like they should just reverse the entire Biden New Deal, Green New Deal. That would save money. That would allow you to be able to do whatever you wanted with immigration, all that stuff. It should all be wiped clean. But as it stands now, they have things. So they give people money to build these carbon sequestration pipelines because they say if we put carbon in the pipelines, we're going to save the planet. No, you're not. All you're doing is subsidizing people, and some people are going to make a lot of money off that. I get that. But, you know, you have people that don't want, like in South Dakota, they may not want a pipeline on their private property, so they don't sell. Well, what they want to do is kneecap the ability of states and localities to protect private property rights by having restrictions on eminent domain. So now that's going to be wiped from the books, and they're going to be able to go in over the head of landowners. They also want to override all local and state zoning laws against these AI data centers. You know, these AI data centers are like massive amounts of power that go into them. Do you want those just set up in, like, you know, right by the rec center of some residential neighborhood? Like, I think you should be able to say no if that's the case. So there is they are trying to take away the ability of states to act in some of these spheres. But I think AI is really important that we retain that so that we're able to make some thoughtful calculations. But it is very difficult because of how rapid it changes, and you could have the perfect solution today, and in 6 months it is possible that that solution is obsolete. All right, thanks everybody. God bless you all. Take care. Great job. Yeah. Good luck at FSU. Good luck at Naval Academy. Good luck to you. Thanks so much. Yeah. Good to see you. We'll see.